Unfiltered by Jade.
Jade.
Welcome to the Unfiltered by Jade, where we educate, empower, and entertain. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, download, donate, and make everybody know about this.
Beats by RB Records.
Shopping assistance, your style, your budget. Our services include online and local shopping for individuals and businesses, personal shopping, purchasing of company and office supplies, importing and exporting small packages across Jamaica and worldwide, and helping you find unique gifts and items for all events and occasions. Contact us at 876-919-5195 or shoppingassistance2015@gmail.com. Shopping Assistance, your style, your budget.
Welcome back to the Unfiltered by Jade. Today we have with us here a special guest. Her name is Anya-Jean Wilson, and we are here to speak about handling failure and bounce back. But before we even get into that, I want to introduce her to you. So she is a kingdom builder, an international MC, voiceover talent, branded content creator, ordained minister, solopreneur, wife. She's everything. Hi, Anya. Welcome.
Hi, Jade. Happy to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. I can't wait to jump into this conversation with you.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Let's do it.
let's do it. All right. So, first of all, I want you to share a specific moment in your life or your career where you experienced a significant failure. Tell us what happened.
So, one experience jumps out at me first and foremost, above all else. And it's when I was working in corporate in Jamaica. I was working at Sagicor as a personal assistant to one of their top insurance agents. And I had just resigned from my job as an entertainment coordinator at Sandal South Coast, that's in Westmoreland, and I wanted to come back home to Kingston. It's funny, I left Kingston because I wanted a break. I wanted to not be under my mother's roof, to kind of have some sort
Mm-hmm.
of independence.
Mm-hmm.
And while Sandals was good, after a while I wanted to come back home now. I
Right.
had a taste of the world.
And I
And
wanted to come back. Mm-hmm.
it was ghetto. It was ghetto. So I was just like, yeah, there's safety in my mom's home. I'm gonna go back home. And unfortunately, it was tragedy that pulled me to actually go back. The passing of my younger sister, she had a brain aneurysm, and when that happened, I
Oh,
was like, you know what? Yeah, let me go. Let me pack it up. I gotta go. I gotta go back to Kingston just to support my mom and just to be there with my family, my other sisters, and my nephew, who that sister who passed just gave birth to like less than a year before she died. So
no.
all that happened, and now I'm back in Kingston and I'm looking for work. And I saw that actually a schoolmate of mine, she was a year ahead of me at Wolmer's, and she had an opening. She wanted a PA. So I saw it, I think, on LinkedIn or somewhere on social media, and I applied. And I mean, she was pleased with my resume, everything, and the fact that we went to the same high school, kind of gave her some confidence boost. And we
Right.
had like a 3-day crash course. And if you know anything about insurance, the ins and outs of it, it can be a lot, especially if it's not like your go-to thing. If numbers, figures, selling, that kind of thing is not your thing, it might be a little challenging. But I went in head on, took on the challenge. But after a while, I wasn't getting it. I got the basic gist of it, but I wasn't getting it to the comfort level and to the performance level that the agent required at the time. And I mean, she was a top performer, and if her PA wasn't performing well, it would reflect on her. It would reflect on her sales. It would reflect on her numbers. It would reflect on her ranking and all of that. And if you know anything about the corporate girlies, the corporate baddies, if you know anything about corporate, it can be dog eat dog, and everybody is trying to climb to the top and stay there. And that's just what it is. And I think it just got to a point where I just wasn't getting it. I was making some mistakes. I was making mistakes, some of them uh, by like innocent errors. Others of them is just by like oversight or, not understanding the content fully or not knowing just how to go about really being the PA of one of the top agents. It's a job that could be pressuring, and there was a lot of demands, and I think at the time my best to show up, but I just wasn't cutting it, and I knew I wasn't cutting it. And she got frustrated, and fairly so, because as I said, it would reflect on her
Right.
portfolio, affect her clientele. And if you know anything about insurance, they don't get a base pay, so it's what they make in a month that they take home. And if you
Right.
mess with their mojo, if you mess with their money, then
Yep.
you know so that's basically in a nutshell what happened. She called me aside and she said, "Hey, I'm gonna have to ask you to resign because I don't want to fire you, and I just don't think you're cut out for this." And I mean, and I'm paraphrasing because this was like 2017, 2018, and it hit me. I saw it coming, but it still hit me like a ton of bricks. And yeah, I've never been asked to leave a job before. Every job I had prior to that, I only worked 3 or 4 other jobs before that, but I've never been asked to leave a job before. So for me, that was a big hit. And to date, I think that's one of my biggest, I would say, disappointments career wise, just life on a whole for me. And it took me a while to bounce back. I felt like I couldn't do office work. For a long time, I stayed away from anything that had me doing a lot of math, a lot of figures, working with figures. To date, I still don't think I can fit into a corporate space. That's my honest opinion, right where I sit or stand right now in my life.
Hmm.
And for a while, I abhorred the corporate space. I abhorred anybody that worked in corporate because it brought back such a nasty memory for me.
Right.
Yeah, so it wasn't necessarily an environment where you can, if you need help, you can say, "Hey, can you help me with this?" It wasn't that kind of environment. Everybody was kind of to themselves, for themselves. It's either you learn it on the go or you don't, and you just get left by the wayside kind of thing. And
You just
again,
dog eat dog.
numbers wasn't my thing. Give me literature, give me books to read, ask me to, do history. I'm a literature girly, but when it comes on to, I don't even remember which side of the brain, if it's right or left, but when it comes on to numbers and figures, I'm not at my best self. I'll give it my best, but you won't get my best self. And so for a long time, even after I left that job, I was afraid of corporate. I was afraid of doing anything administrative, anything that required being somebody's personal assistant. Even though I would still apply to jobs like that, I did it very fearfully.
Right.
That was to date, I think, my biggest disappointment in life. And the fact that I knew her from school days, and I think she was disappointed that I didn't live up to the expectations she probably had of me, knowing that we came from the same school and the kind of background we should have as it pertains to academics, but I didn't meet the cut for her. So yeah, that was my biggest disappointment.
So I'm gonna also add to that for you.
Hmm.
So not big. No. So I don't know you. I haven't known you for a long time, right? I could
Right.
tell you that numbers and those things is not your space.
No,
Sometimes these disappointments come to show us where we actually should be,
that, yes,
right?
I learned that
Right?
now. Yeah,
Talking about stock, anything else, it's that's not your thing. And the thing is, I actually applaud you for actually going into something that you had no knowledge of,
zero knowledge.
zero knowledge. So I applaud you for even taking that risk to go and even putting yourself out there, because many people, I for sure not doing that. So many many persons wouldn't do that and put themselves in a situation where they will be looked upon as, okay, we have this expectation of you and you're not fulfilling it,
Yeah.
because I'm
So
sure that had a blow to your ego. So the truth is, it's really not about the school or the expectations, because not everybody that got to Wilmot is good with figures,
true. Very
right?
true.
Right? So it doesn't equate. That it's a
Yeah.
fallacy. Going to a school doesn't equate to you being good at something particular. It means that you're good and you are talented and good at your area of work. So
Mhm.
I mean, it just showed you where you're supposed to be and where you're not supposed to be. So it may be a failure at that time, but it's also a learning point and a pivotal ground for you.
I totally agree. It was a moment of just redirection. I think it's Terry Carell has that favorite phrase.
Directed to where it's supposed to.
Yeah.
What role does mindset and self talk play in how you handle these setbacks?
A very, very crucial role. Your mind, I mean, everything happens in the mind before it materializes anywhere else. Even coming out of that experience, in my mind, I doubted that I could ever function again in a corporate space or in an administrative role,
Right.
and that kind of directed my action. So your mindset is very, very crucial in bouncing back, in dealing with disappointments, and positive self-talk. I learned that in psychology many moons ago. And I think that part of it, I have it kind of sort of down pat. I'm always talking to myself. If you see me talking to myself, just mind your business, mind your business. I'm over here, we're just trying to recollect,
Yep.
reconvene, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes settle myself so that I don't allow my feelings or whatever is going on at the moment to push me over the edge. So you definitely need to be able to talk to yourself and say, hey, all right, acknowledge what is happening. This is happening right now. This is how you feel, but this is who you are. You are somebody who can bounce back. You've bounced back before. Things have happened before. This is not the end of you. You have to, I think everybody has to develop that thing. And I use the word develop because it's not necessarily innate. And
Right.
the only way it becomes developed is if you have to face these disappointments, is if you face these setbacks. So don't be daunted if the first time you experience a setback or a disappointment, you don't use self-talk. You don't have that positive mental reinforcement to fall back on. Don't beat yourself up because it's something that develops over time, but it's very crucial to have that going for you. And I would back that up also with just accountability partners. I want to use that word, or people who you have in your corner that can, you can lean back on when a disappointment happens, and when you're busy going down the rabbit hole of how much of a failure you are, they are there to reinforce you and say, hey, hey, no, 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 like, we're not doing that. This is what we're not going to do. This is just a moment in your life. It's not the end of your road. This is, again, a redirection, a turning point. You're going to learn from this. It's not going to kill you. And you have to have that kind of reinforcement going for you. So, mindset and positive self talk, I 10 out of 10 recommend it for everybody in the face of disappointment or not. Because sometimes you can be on a mountaintop and you still need to do some self talk because you have
Mm-hmm.
people who fear success. And so when they face success, they begin to freak out like, oh my God, I'm freaking out. I don't deserve this. I don't know what I'm doing. And even in that moment, you still need to fall back on a positive mental reinforcement and even self talk to say, you worked your way to get here. You are now here. You're deserving of this. Don't try to cheat yourself or discount or discredit yourself from this point of success.
How do you decide whether you need to try again or not? Because sometimes there are some things that we fail at and we're saying like, should I do this again? Did I do something wrong at a particular time? Do I need to try again? When is it that you think we need to walk away and say this, all right, this is not working?
I'm gonna sound a bit cliche here, but I always put prayer in everything. So if it's something I pray about, and I mean, I have it on my prayer list, and it's something I've been bringing before God several times, I wait to hear His instructions on it, because many a times it's not that you're failing at the thing, or it's not that this is not your area of expertise, or this is not where you're supposed to go in life, but it's just that it can be wrong timing. It can be wrong timing. It can be that you're not quite ready yet, so you need to. It's just like a child who they will have repeat grade 5 because they're not quite ready yet for grade 6 or whatever in their score sheet is saying, hey, they may be strong in one area, but they're weak in so many others. Putting them to grade 6 before the time is going to do more harm than good. So they hold you back in grade 5 another year. And that can be a moment of disappointment, no doubt, because all your friends have gone ahead and you're still lagging behind. I use lagging very loosely. There is benefit in it because whatever grounding you need to establish so that you can thrive at the next level, if you properly apply yourself, you can get that in your repeated stage or in the stage of failure. If you go back through whatever you're doing, whatever project, whatever, if it's a job role or whatever, and you go back through, you say, okay, where did I make my mistakes? Where could I have done better? Have people assess you. Again, the accountability partners, people who are in your corner that can say to you, hey, I think you could have done this better. I think you should have done this better. You're good in this area, but work on this. So I would definitely say that that is needful. And if you have done that assessment and you find that, all right, I can go at it again, you have now a confidence, you have more knowledge of the subject area, you have a greater level of confidence, and you can say, all right, I'm better equipped now. Let me try again. There's room for that and there's a place for that. But then again, I'm always listening for God to say, hey, this is not where I want you, or this is where I want you. So sometimes it's it's you have to be doing more than one things to kind of find your footing. I'm gonna put it like that. Find your footing. For example, for me, I have a degree in psychology, but technically, if I'm being very anal about it, I have not yet used that degree. I've worked in several different industries that don't even require necessarily a psychology degree. But
Hmm.
what it has allowed me is to establish a varied experience when it comes on to the working world. So if you ask me about entertainment, I can tell you about it. If you ask me about insurance, no, I can tell you about it. If you ask me about health, the health field, if you ask me about customer service. So I am now finding my footing that, hey, music media, that's where your thing is. The media, the landscape, that's where you are, right? But it took me a while to get here. I had to have that experience in insurance. I had to have my experience in health. So sometimes it's a praying to God, waiting for the instruction, but still trying your hands at different things. And when you find your thing, when you find that thing, you will know because it becomes automatic. It's like you can go to sleep and do it with your eyes closed. And so in that sense, you know that okay, this is my thing, this is what I'm gonna push for. I would say if you're constantly, and I'm treading lightly when I say this because you may be constantly failing in your area, but it's a part of what you're supposed to do in life. Maybe there is still some refining that needs to happen with you, a refining of your skill set, a broadening of your knowledge base, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's not your thing. It's just that you are still in preparation mode. So you got to know the season you're in. It can be your thing, but you're not prepared for it and you're not ready right now to step into it. So you need to get some other experiences under your belt and then try this thing 5 years down the road. And then you will be a better fit for it. So I know everything, with that way, and everything you fail at means, it's not your thing. But being in this place of prayer, seeking God about it, and still trying your hands at different things, exploring. Don't just be one track minded, but open yourself to different experiences until you narrow down what your thing is, and then you go full speed ahead in that.
Lovely. So garner all your tools first.
Yes, yes,
Basically,
ma'am.
what is there a failure that you're grateful for now? What unexpected doors it is open for you?
Okay, so mercy. I had another career experience. This one wasn't so much necessarily, I don't know, maybe it was a failure to an extent, but it allowed me to go full speed ahead into something else that I believe was for me. So again, this is a work situation. I was working at a company as an administrative assistant. However, their accountant left prematurely. And so the manager was like, hey, I'm going to toss you around to accounts. Now, again, this is numbers and this is not my strong suit. And I'm like, Holy Ghost,
Yeah.
help me here. But one thing with me, if you give me something, I'm gonna try my best at it. That's one thing I can give myself credit for. I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna let you know this is not my strong suit. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna give it my best. I mean, that happened. To be quite honest, the company's accounts, and I could see why the accountant left because she was very frustrated. Their accounts were like backdated, stuff were missing. It was just a mess. So it was a lot for her to sort through and bring it to current. And so when she left abruptly, and the manager said, hey, I'm gonna need you to toggle between front desk and admin duties and sales duties and come around to accounts and do some of the back end. And I'm like, okay, all right, no problem. Sure, let's do this. I can do all things through Christ. So I did that, but then the frustration grew on me too. And it got to the point where lunchtime when I was working at that organization, my lunch times were either spent in the car sleeping because I was just so my energy was just expended by
Depleted.
lunchtime,
Hmm.
right? Depleted completely by lunchtime, or I was so frustrated I would just literally go into my car and just cry for the whole lunch hour, just ball and eat and sleep, ball, eat, sleep
That's
on
right.
repeat.
Hmm.
And one day, I think one period in time, I just took some. I think I started to what the young people now say crash out. I was still showing up to work, but you could see it in my demeanor, you could see it in my face, you could see it in my that I just disconnected from the organization. I disconnected from my role. Mentally, it was just taking a toll on me. And at the time too, I had just started in the radio, working for Gospel JA. And so I would go to work Monday to Friday at that organization and then work Saturday and Sunday. So not only mentally am I tired, but physically I was drained because I was working 7 days a week and still doing other functions. I still had a business to run. I still had church duties to do. So I think it just came to the point where I say, you know what, I'm gonna walk away from this job. And naturally it didn't make sense because the Monday to Friday job was paying me more than my weekend job.
Right.
And of course you have student loan, you have car payments. That don't make sense. You have some people would say you have the best of both worlds. You're working two jobs, two salaries, yeah, but it was at that point in my life I realized anything that was gonna do such an extensive damage on my mental health and my peace of mind was not gonna be worth it,
Yes.
irrespective of what it was. So I was willing to walk away from it. And but what that did for me when I walked away, it allowed me to step into radio full time. And though I was still only working weekends, one, it freed me up to do other radio shows in the week if another announcer couldn't make it. It freed me up to do what they call outside broadcast, which in and of itself was a networking opportunity. It
Right.
introduced me to various churches, various people, various groups. More persons were now hearing my voice. More
Yes.
persons were now seeing that I could be an efficient and an effective MC. And it was in that season that I began getting bookings for like concerts and conferences and graduations. And so I would say when I walked away from that job and stepped full time into radio and focusing on my business as well, it gave me more visibility, especially in the social media space. And then I was able to get more bookings and gain confidence in the fact that, hey, I can do this MC thing. I'm qualified to do this MC thing and to be able to just turn my attention to radio, to MC, and to my business, which is as a social media marketer. So I'm
Um,
grateful for that failure because of course the boss started to say, I don't think accounts is your thing. I don't think maths is your thing. And I'm saying, I told you this though. I was the one that told you. So, eventually we just called that quits and I was able to move on. So yeah.
nice. What advice would you give to someone currently stuck in the aftermath of a setback?
Ooh, child, feel it.
Mm.
Allow yourself to process it. So many times, especially if you're like a go-getter, you have that kind of go-getter mentality. Go-getters don't stop really to process things.
No.
We don't. And that can be good and bad, but mostly bad because it catches up with you at some point or the other. Or what you will find is that you are now overcompensating in another way. At the next job, next project, next gig, next whatever, and it usually equals to burnout. So I would say if you're in that, I would call it a rut, if you're in that period of just experiencing a disappointment, whether it is career, life on a whole, even if it's relationship, whatever it is, the church, whatever, disappointments take various forms. I would say allow yourself to feel. It's not an easy thing, especially as Caribbean people. We don't process emotions. We don't do that. That's the narrative, I should say. But I'm glad I'm a part of a generation of people who are breaking that narrative. Allow
Yes.
yourself to feel what you're going through. Allow yourself to come to terms with the disappointment. I failed at this. Whether the failure is completely on you or there were other factors or other people involved that caused the failure. The fact of the matter is failure happened and it landed in your lap. Face yourself and know that this is not a defining moment. And I say defining meaning it does not chart the course for what lies ahead. Only if you allow it to be that defining moment. I would also say surround yourself with people. Again, community is vital. Surround yourself with people who can remind you of your successes even before this point of failure. Persons who can speak life into you and pray over you because it's so, so crucial. When we face disappointment, we tend to want to just hide in a corner, be by ourselves and lock ourselves away. And truthfully, that quiet place or that lonely place, I think that's where the devil thrives most because that's when he gets into your head and begins to tell you all sorts of things about yourself that don't go so. Because remember, he is the father of lies, so everything he says is gonna be a lie. So you have to have people that will be there with you. I remember even when that Sagicor incident happened and when she said to me, hey, I'm gonna ask you to resign, clear out your desk and everything. I wasn't driving at the time, so I would take the bus and stuff to work and I had a best friend and I called. I don't even think I explained it in the fullness to him. I just called him and I said, hey, can you pick me up? That was it. And I said, I'm going to have some stuff with me because, of course, I'm emptying my desk. my shoe. 'Cause, corporate girls, so we carry heels to work. You wear your
Yep.
flash. So you might have a lunch bag in the fridge. You know
Yep.
the corporate life. So
Yep. Oh yeah.
I had stuff on my desk. I had my devotional, my Bible, my this, my that, all sort of things. And I just called him and I said, "Hey, can you come and get me?" That was it. And he did. And he come up to the office, help me move my stuff, whatever. So you have to have people. And for a while, he took me to work with him. This is a grown man, and I'm a
Hmm.
grown enough girl. And he took
Hmm.
me to work with him just so that I wasn't alone with my thoughts, so that I wasn't wallowing in self pity, so that I wasn't wallowing in disappointments. And I will never forget that he did that. Took me to work with him, I think about 2, 3 days. And he was a teacher. So, I would go to work with him. He make sure I have something to eat. Like whatever I needed, he was there. And so you need people like that until you are back on your feet. You need people who will hold your hand as you go through that dark alley. So I would say find your people. And oftentimes it's these low periods that show you who your people are. And
Yes.
it might not be the people who you think are gonna be there for you,
Yep.
but just appreciate the ones that show up. They
Yep.
don't even have to know what's wrong. 'Cause as I said, I don't think I told him what was wrong on the phone. I just said, "Hey, can you come get me?" And in no time he came. So you will know your people. You don't have to
Yes.
be over explaining anything. They
Yep.
just know you're in a dark spot and you need help. And however they need to show up, they're gonna show up. Even if they have nothing to give but their presence. That for some people, I mean people who experience grief or the loss of a loved one, sometimes all people need is your presence. Don't say nothing. Nothing.
Tell them.
Just show.
Tell them not to say anything, please.
Don't say we don't need it.
We don't hear.
We love you. We know you mean well.
We don't
And
want to hear it.
we don't need it. Okay, just be there. That's all I need.
That's it.
Just be there. Just be there. Make sure I don't do anything silly. Make sure I don't let grief and depression overtake me. I get weird in my thoughts. Just be there. So you have to have people that you can call on in times like those. And again, to be able to pull you up out of the rut and remind you of who you are and whose you are and
Yes.
your destiny. You have to have people that can speak life into you and see where you are going. So even though you've met this boulder in the road right now, even though you're up against this opposition, hey, I see where you can go. I see what you're destined for, and this is just a moment of redirection.
Bam bam bide, bam bam bide, badu bidi boo. Bam bam bide,